Oh, come on, I can go faster than this. Why are we going so slowly? We have a schedule to stick to, remember? There's something going on inside you, Gordon. I think it might be that problem again. Oh, don't be ridiculous. We got that fixed in the works the last time we went after crashing into the station. So don't worry, it won't happen again. Now, hurry up, I don't want to be late. Slow down, Gordon. We're going way too fast here, love. Oh, I feel like we're going to fly off the rails anytime soon. Oh, good job you took parachute lessons, love. Come on. I don't want to be late. This is not going to end well, girls. I can tell you that now. Morning, Gordon. Morning, Rusty. Can't stop. Driver, brakes, please. We're almost at the station. Oh, yes, of course, Gordon. Gordon? Now, I don't wish to alarm you, but, your, brakes have failed again. Yeah? What? Oh, heck. Passengers, brace for impact! Gordon, stop! I can't, Thomas! Oh, heck. No, not again! Oh, the indignity. Well then, what do you make of that, Stepney? Well, I mean, Golden's Express has always been considered a smash hit. Oh, I cracked myself up. Oh, hang on, Thomas, aren't you supposed to be meeting Toby and Percy in the village near Toby's line today? Oh, heck, I almost forgot about that. Thank you, Stepney. I'll head over there right away. Oh, and don't forget to get Golden the breakdown train. Morning, Toby. Morning, Percy. Well, isn't... Percy? What's the matter? Oh, I've just been thinking about this thing, Thomas. I mean, our 5th series has gone out, but I'm not happy with the way I'm portrayed. In my adventure, I'm portrayed as being scared and afraid of it. I'm not portrayed as brave. Percy, in all defence, I think you were portrayed correctly. I mean, you were buried alive in a coal mine incident, and personally, I think I'd be scared too if I was in your position. I mean, look at Toby. He had an episode during the flood season, which was taken from the true events that happened here. I mean, very true, Thomas, but I think I was accurately portrayed. I even think some of those shots that were used in the episode was taken from the actual day itself. And Percy, going back to your incident, I think there's nothing wrong with being afraid. But you did show you were brave, because in that scenario, I think any of us would be scared. So, you've got nothing to worry about. I suppose, Toby. But what now? Where do we go from here?
Off on new adventure and about making new friends.
What in the name of Godred is going on here? Who said that?
Well, good morning, everyone. How are we all feeling?
Mr. Conductor! Well, it's been a long time. What are you doing here?
I have come over from the mainland with a message from our friend the Thomas Lawrence. He has something exciting news, but however, even more sad he is. Thomas, would you mind talking about your season 5 thing whilst I tell these guys about the thing?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Conductor. Hello everyone, my name is Thomas Lawrence, and welcome to why Season 5 is my Thomas Goldmine. So, where to begin? Well, you could argue at the beginning, because it's a very good place to start, as Julie Andrews once said. So, Series 5 of Thomas kicked off in the UK on the 14th of September 1998, and concluding on the 19th of October that same year. It was produced and directed once again by Britt Allcroft and David Mitten, with composers Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell returning to do the music. But this season was the first of many things. Firstly, it was the first season to feature Dolby Surround Stereo to the episodes, and also a first for the US, as they now had a new narrator. With George Carlin having left the show, Alec Baldwin stepped into the shoes of the narrator for the US audiences, where we had Michael Angelis return to voice the stories for the UK. So, that might be where it all started commercially, but for me, personally, the story is a little different. I'm gonna get you all to picture the scene. Picture a cloudy-ish spring day in 2001. I'm currently with my mother, literally just sat in the room, and then in comes my dad. My dad just come back from the shops because my mum was just sat in the living room looking after me. And then my dad goes, "I think we found the right thing. Was this what your girls in work were talking about?" He hands my mum a copy of a VHS box set, and obviously, being 1 year old, just turning 1 that year, I was very curious, because I was starting to walk around that point, or crawl at least. Because those early days I had a foot problem, which meant my foot was sort of inward. So I was trying to get it to face out was the main problem. So it did mean I was a bit slightly behind on the walking part, but was getting there. So I came up and had a look, and I just see this VHS cover, which you're seeing on screen, and I go, "What's all this?" And my mum goes, "Would you like to meet these characters, Tom?" And not nodding my head, apparently, yes, I would. I was very excited, because I was apparently going to meet somebody. My parents put in the VHS tape for tape 1 of the 5th series, and VHS titles open with the lovely VCI intro, and then we go straight into this song which I'd never heard before but would soon be a part of my life. And then the title, Cranky Bugs, comes across the screen. And as soon as those credits finish rolling, we launch straight into a magical world of talking steam trains, talking vehicles, and just adventure on every horizon. Now, according to the last part of the story from the parents, I apparently, as soon as the tape was on, and as soon as the stories were being told, I did not move from my spot in front of the TV until the tape had finished. Because I was so engrossed in the stories that I just didn't want to move. It's mad to think that the show that Thomas used to have had the power to engulf someone's interest like that. It's just mad, considering now what the fans have to deal with nowadays especially. So that's how I became hooked on Series 5, but I'll tell you for why as well. Series 5, then going back and watching it and realising it was the 5th series of a show, hooks me for Thomas because, first point, It is the first season to do original stories not based on the Railway series, which I think was a bit of a bold move for the production company, because when you stray away from the source material that much, it becomes a bit risky, but it was a risk that paid off. And two, when you're doing original stuff, you want to make sure that it is original and you're not maybe doing an original story, but it's a rehash of a story you may have told in a previous season or whatever. Which I think this season manages to do very well, but also it kind of homes on a couple of storylines, I think, in the season, but I cannot remember which ones at the moment. But yeah, that is essentially the first part of how I got hooked onto Thomas in the first place. The second part of the fifth series, which I enjoy the most, is the quality that goes into it. Now, with Thomas in those days, there was always a decent gap between series getting released. Series 1 to 2, 2 years. Series 2 to 3, 6 years. I'm saying it's 5, but you could argue 5 if you count the early versions of the VHS of Season 3, but going for TV release. 3 years for Series 4, and then another 3 years for Series 5. And you can tell, probably, as soon as Season 5 was announced it was coming, Series 4 probably wrapped up around early-ish 1994, and then when it was going out on TV the following year, they were probably going, oh, okay, this season's gone down a treat, let's make sure the next one does. So probably they were all in their office with a massive stack of scripts from the writers being like, okay, this is what we have. Because I know, from a source I read, in 1996, after some very heated arguments with Christopher about some of the uses of the books as well, which was not pretty, was when they decided they weren't going to use the books anymore. So in 1996, they probably had their big stack of scripts and were going through them all and deciding, right, what 26 stories do we want to do for this brand new season of original Thomas and Friends, which they could actually call original now because they weren't just adapting the books, they were making something of their own. And then obviously then you have to consider as well, the first season with original stories was obviously going to mean the first season to have the biggest amount of set use probably, and not even to mention model use, with how many new characters they introduced in the series, because heck, you had the lorries, you had Derek, or the Diesel as he's just called in the actual episode, old Slow Coach, Thumper even, and what the hell, I'll throw Boulder in as well because he still counts as character because he has a face. And yeah, you just have to then look at some of these gorgeous set pieces they did, like the new design for the docks, the Kirk Ronan, even some of the interior shots that they used for when it was like Lady Hat's birthday party, when they did like the party set for the end of the episode, the coal mines, the scrapyards, which in my opinion is my probably favourite set of the whole series, the castle and the mine, and that sort of woodland way that they had in Toby's Discovery, and even Toby's village that's on his line that was used in Toby and the Flood. Everything about this season went into so particular detail to get these stories across, and just having these gorgeous visuals around it, just makes it beautiful. That's what Thomas misses. It misses the charm the models had. The charm the models gave to the show gave a whole audience across the UK just something to enjoy while they're getting told a story on maybe, according to what I think I read, season 5 was going out after school because it was on Cartoon Network in those days. Whoop whoop. But no, in all seriousness though, visually, aesthetically and story-wise, season 5 is just chef's kiss gorgeous. Third part of the reason why I enjoyed this series is because of the added feature of the Dolby Surround Stereo. Now, they could have just done this season with Angelus doing it with just his normal narration and normal studio settings, but no, they decided, okay, we are bringing our new story to the screen. How can we make them even better than they might already be? Let's add the stereo feature. And when they did, honestly, you could put that on like a Boss speaker in like a cinema room, or even in your local cinema. Just close your eyes, sit back, and even if you don't need the narration, just have the sound effects and the score playing, and you just have it going through both ears. It goes in straight and just gets into your soul, just so you can feel it. Because Mike and Junior, sound-wise, I'm just going to make this the sound section, okay? Mike and Junior went above and beyond scoring this season, my lord. From the Storm theme in Cranky Bugs to some new character themes as well, because like the biggest character themes that had the upgrades this year was Thomas Percy. Even Golden got an update for the 5th series. But you just had beautiful themes. But I think my stand to favourite themes from this series would have to be the Danger theme that gets used in Stepney Gets Lost and Duncan Gets Spooked, from the moment when Duncan meets the ghost. And I'm just going to pause from talking a minute, because I understand I've been talking for a lot, so I'm just going to let you sample what I have. And if you have headphones, I've used Oliver 11 GWR's perfect instrumentals for these, so obviously this might hopefully will save us from getting copyrighted too much for this. But just watch these sequences, no narration, and just with the audio and sound effects. Have a listen. You see what I mean? Oh. Ooh, I feel tingly after that. But honestly, guys, they didn't have to do this for this season, but it just added up the extra wow factor. And not to mention, considering they were pitching Thomas and the Magic Railroad at this point and pitching the big cinema event, obviously you obviously want to make sure your season does this well and shows off that it can be cinematic when it wants to be. Because if this season was just done as your run-of-the-mill Thomas series, I feel so many finances would have just gone to Brit. No, because Thomas is more of a TV thing. But because of David's amazing directing skills and camera work in this story, it proved Thomas can be cinematic. Okay, which also did prove problems for when Thomas the Magic Railroad did eventually get released in 2000, but as Ringo would say, that's another story. And lastly, I think I'll conclude with this, but the main reason why I love this series is just, it's the first season where in a long time, probably even since the third, I'll say, where it's felt like an ensemble series. And what I mean by that is there was no characters in this series who had, like, more than maybe one or two stories where they were in the headlights. With the exception of Thomas, of course, but that's because he is the whole title of the show. So he is allowed to have that, obviously, the name billing. But at least all of the main Steam team, or Audrey's 8 as I'll call them, because that's how I look at the Steam team thing from my eyes, Audrey's 8, because heck, you had main roles from Thomas, Percy. Percy actually had a good run of the mill with the stories in this year, because we had like Put Upon Percy, A Surprise for Percy, Thomas Percy, an old slow coach. Toby had a main character moment with Horrid Lorry. You could argue that's Percy as well, but I feel Toby had more of the story as the lead. So I'm calling that one dibs for a Toby episode. You had Gordon having probably the most impact this season, because this is the first big accident he has really had. I'll actually say ever in the show, because I don't really count Off the Rails as a massive crash. Literally just slides into a ditch, whereas this story, A Better View for Gordon, he literally yeets through a station wall, and the damage he gets afterwards is a bit like, ouch. Not to mention the fact that his whole sort of front chassis is just hanging off him. And you got a lot of Angelus and Baldwin with their line delivery here.
Help me, please!
Help me, please!
Yeah, Gordon just sounds constipated when it's Baldwin doing it. Apologies, but I'm giving this point to Angelus. Then you have James even, who gets another good couple of stories. You have Henry, who gets actually quite some really good stories this year. He doesn't actually have too much. Okay, the reason why I'm saying too much, because people were arguing Haunted Henry was foreshadowing Scary Henry. But I don't think it personally was, because I mean, if you see something in the dead of night that literally looks unexpected and you think it's ghosts, or if you believe in ghosts, I probably should have said, then obviously you're going to feel a bit creeped out. I mean, could you imagine walking along there at that time of night and then just seeing just like this random figure moving in the station house? I'd be running for the hills. I'm not going to talk about this episode in too much detail, because I'm going to do a special project for this story, because this is probably my tied favourite for Series 5. All I'm saying, Stepney gets lost. I'm not saying any more than that. But anyway, Season 5, you have a mix of heartwarming stories, you have a mix of scary stories, and you have a mix of just downright fun episodes. Like, I feel like Britt and David, he was gonna knew I was gonna be born 2 years after 2 years after this season came out, and just looked at what my wish list was for a series of Thomas, and just went, okay, we've got Runaways, yep, we've got fun stories, yep, we've got scary stories, yep. And this season, I kid you not, guys, I would watch non-stop. I think I actually even wore out one of the videotapes at one point, actually, because I watched it so much. But thankfully, that was just before my 4th or 5th birthday, so that was after when Series 5 eventually then got released on DVD. So I was not too worried. But yeah, Season 5 will hold that special place for me. And you could argue that Series 3 or 4 is probably the best season of Thomas, but no. This season, in my eyes and soul, is the best, if not the best of all time series of Thomas and Friends. And I would not have it any other way. Because I thank this season for introducing me to a world that I have never ever wanted to leave me ever. Because the island of Sodor is definitely a magical place where dreams come true. Well, there you have it, Mr. C. Have you told them?
I think that couldn't have been put any better sentence, Thomas. Now, other Thomas, can you take me to Napford so I can tell the fuck controller what I've just told you?
Of course, Mr. Conductor. Hop aboard and I'll take you there straight away. So Thomas and Mr. Conductor went to deliver my message off to the Fat Controller. Now, I know what this message is, but I bet you're all wondering yourselves what it is. But as they say, I unfortunately can't tell you anymore, or I shall spoil a future surprise.